All right. I'm gonna go look at. Well, this is blocking my way somewhat, but I'm okay with it. So, I'm gonna go look at some of the stuff I'm discussing about. Now, Amazon's closing their hours these days. I just learned how the start break function operates these days. But Amazon really seems like they're in trouble. I saw they're closing their physical stores. I don't know what's up with Amazon. They hire a lot of people, and people like ruining good things, right? Right? You can't employers don't take a chance on anyone. Everyone loves virtue signaling, right? But at the end of the day, money is all that matters. If you have money or even a little bit of money, you can enjoy life, right? You don't get to enjoy life if you don't have cheddar, right? That's reality 101. And look, a lot of people, so I'm going to talk about this. The reason why people who might listen to this might all get angry is because I focused on topics that cause people to ghost each other, right? I'm ad-libbing this right now. And the topics that cause people to ghost each other is usually revolving around money or helping people start their own business. You know, what feelings do you get when you talk about it? Anger. These are the topics that get people to visit counseling, right? Right, it is what it is. And that's an annoying comment, right? It is what it is. It gets people pissed off and they want to punch each other. I'm selling myself as the guy where you can feel free to punch me, right? If I say that. I don't want you to, but I'm willing to say that out loud at the cost of being roasted, right? I don't care. Because I need to do that to deliver something real to you. I can't deliver anything real unless I push some buttons, right? That's how life works. Because if you can't do that, what are you going to do, right? You have to know when to change hats and deliver value to the corporation. Yeah, that's why I decided, so my VTO range, right, I can get shorted, that's fine, I can VTO, but I'm not going to VTO, if it gets any lower than 20 hours, right, or 25, I mean, right, 20 would be okay, I won't do anything after below 25, but below 25, I'll actually think about exiting, right? Right, and then I put that on my Twitter feed because I noticed my hours are getting shorter. Right, and if I go any lower than 25, yeah, I will start trying to think of how to exit out of the company, maybe go to another warehouse job. If I don't legitimately discuss the topic, because I'm okay with VTOing to some extent. I'm always checking my total hours. Right, if the hours get lower, leave. And once that happens, I leave. And then I go do something else. Whether it's coding boot camp, administrative assistant, customer service, right? Right now it's administrative assistant because that's what I can do. Preferably I like to go coding because coding, although it's harder to find a job, the money is there, right? So I made a comment about this. I think I decided I offer coffee, lunch, or something expensive. I'm willing to pay up to $1,000 for the food if it's high end. Like any price tag, as long as it allows me to afford an education, right? What your highest proposal, your highest venture is, right? In this case, could be school, could be something else. I don't know. I'm flexible. Right, and Jassy could not be reached for a comment. Right, that's kind of the way how most CEOs and VPs work. And I was hoping they'd respond indirectly. We'll wait. We'll see what happens. I might as well, if it gets any lower, I'm going to start quitting, right? Because you got to work with a certain amount of hours, because you've got to factor in gas costs, right? Expenditures. Honestly, I'll be plain about it. I don't always accept VTOs, right? If you VTO all the time, what's the point of showing up to work, right? There's no point. So there's no point in working hard, right? And then otherwise, I work hard for the sake of building a different form of security, right? So like the next company that hires me over, knows that I'm not dicking around, right? Or slacking off. Anyways, this stuff's pretty comfortable to put on, but I've got the gear to work. It takes a while to make it work. That's kind of why, well, as useful as it is, I have like a tripod set up. I'm gonna get a dash cam soon. I'm gonna get a dash cam set up soon. With the dash cam system, I can pretty much get everything fixed. Once I get that set up, I can officially look over a car. I love seeing what's on the car, right? It's pretty beautiful. Watching camera angles work. Yeah, I realized that I wasn't really exactly proficient in anything, so I wanted to create an A/B testing system that took into account my iterative cycle, right? My processing speed. What the hell? Did I run over a squirrel? I don't know. I just saw that. I was like, what was that squirrel doing? Okay, that's awesome. Anyways, yeah. That's the problem I have with a lot of corporations or a lot of school. They don't have accurate employment data. You got to get it somewhere, right? If you can't get accurate employment data, what's the point? There is no point in going to school. That's why, if I want to start over, I'd rather have a lunch or dinner with the VP. Price tag's not an issue. Tell me where the future is, right? Because everyone lies their butt off about employment statistics. Right? My mistake was like believing in my parents, right? Because they're not actually serious about anything they're talking about. And you talk about stuff they disagree with, they just completely avoid it. That's not the product of an honest person. It doesn't matter if it's a parent or not, right? Right? An honest person tackles the problem head on. Right? They have constructive feedback. They keep moving the dial. It doesn't matter, right? Right? Let's say, and this is something I should have thought of. This is my personal life, my personal opinion. And it's like, I'm the guy who's like, okay, if I'm a shitty parent, right? And I ruined the kid's life, I'm willing to travel back in time to fix it. If I legitimately think there's a good reason to avoid parenting. Sometimes there's a good reason, sometimes not. It all depends on the economic circumstance of an individual. Yeah, and that's kind of one of those things that I'm willing to do. You know, bare bones, you know, knuckle style brawling. So anyways, that is my price point. I have a lot to discuss about here. But here's the thing. I'm gonna go look over in another, and that's the thing. If you focus on things people ghost on, they get angry. Doesn't matter if people necessarily agree with the sentiment, right? So let's talk about this. What gets people to ghost? Promotions. Promotions cause people to ghost each other, right? Right. If your best friend who worked less than you got promoted up to lead, don't you feel resentment? And my talent is I connect all issues, all solutions to politics to the topics that make people ghost each other. I chatted about this before. I didn't chat about this at all. Right, so that's the one thing I'll talk about. So I haven't received a response, but I would love to have a legitimate answer, because I'm not going to go to an official school. Maybe I might do it down the VP line, because I need to be a little conservative, because I don't have like money I can just throw, because I don't know if I can get financial aid at this point. See, if you can't get a legitimate reason, in my opinion, a legitimate response from a VP or a company official, I might try it again. I don't know. I don't think you should go to school, because then how do you know if you get a job, right? Do you know? Do you think the employment data is accurate? If you can't even get a VP or a CEO to sit down with you, have a chat, right? How do you know you're going to get a job after you graduate? How do you know that employment data is accurate? People lie all the time for all sorts of reasons, right? People don't answer polls. People say different things to get the pollsters to avoid them, to make the questionnaire as short as possible. Right? What's the point? That's my opinion. I don't know. I had continuous debates with my mom and dad about this. And all they say is like, well, you just need to go to school. It's like, well, yeah, I do. But the reason is always important. Now I want to go because I thought about this for a while, right? I'm thinking about how I want to go about it. I'm willing to execute it now, but I might poke various different business people and see where it goes, right? Right? Because if you can't get a response, what's the point of hiring people? If you're a CEO looking in from a different business, right? Because if they're like, well, I'm not willing to vouch for him for any role, well, are they going to buy my products? Or if they're not willing to vouch you for a job, how are they going to be my future customer, right? You don't have an answer, it's over. Is there accurate employment data anywhere, right? If you can't get a VP, like, if you can't get, like, it doesn't have to be me. I don't know if I'll do, I think I'm going to keep doing this, right? Right? I'm not sure if I'm going to boil everything down the line, but until then, I'm not going to pursue what I call I say hard to hire jobs, but high pay jobs. I'm not going to pursue those yet until I get a legitimate response. I'm not going to do it all the time. I'd rather do it with the company I'm employed with first. Once I have the money, this is how I'm going to pursue it. I don't mind spending extra so I can get some of that legal obligation. Of course, I'll ask for a recording on a voice recorder so I can record the meeting. So it's on record, right? This way, the economy can move, right? Like you have your own personal ROI. And this way I know, and if I can't get school, maybe I can get some side hustles, right? We have a flexible conversation. If you can't get anyone higher up to talk or them to get someone talk to you indirectly, what's the point of going to school, right? That's my thinking. Say, hey, there's employment here. In my opinion, right? You want to get that extra security, right? Because if you're going to go the secure route, you might as well ask. I suspect like a lot of them just want you to form your own business to help them later in life, right? But people like me will say, well, I can't do that right now, right? Here's where I'm at. Here's my target metrics. I am going to piss you off because I don't deliver fantastic results like the sales team you have. Now, I may ask, well, I don't think they're legitimate, right? Because I might challenge the sales team in that meeting, right? That hypothetical VP meeting. I'll challenge the sales team. Right? I might decide like, hey, look, because I want a job, right? How do you get a job other than debating the legitimacy of the results of your corporate staffers? This is called creating a job opportunity. All right, you say, hey, look, I don't think, or if you're not debating it, you might want to expand the point. Well, I really like this new project that's coming up, right? May I volunteer or participate in it so I can get work, right? In another company. You don't talk about theirs. In the future, may I volunteer? Now then they'll say, well, do you want to get hired at mine? Because that's how the conversations start. If I can't have a legitimate conversation, and I hate saying this, because I think a lot of people just get the job because they throw money at the screen. I can't do that anymore. I regret it. I think they all do. They just happen to be really good at school the first time, right? You only get one shot now these days because a lot of people don't want to address, a lot of people aren't as reciprocal anymore these days. So a lot of office politics is, if not all of them, it boils down to a minimum level of genetics. You do not have to be good at office politics, but you need to be good at learning stuff really fast in school and balancing a work schedule the first time around. If you cannot do a good job of that, it's pretty much over. It is over. I'm serious. Some workers, like for example, I have to sleep to perform well, but you have to talk to people too to get a job. People don't hire for competency. They hire based on who's chatty in the office and not necessarily who works the hardest, right? But you have to still work hard. But I'm not in a world... you don't live in a world where people hire. People need to hire. You need to be in the middle, right? At a minimum. And at the same time, be able to chat with the workers so they're friendly with you. That doesn't mean you're competent. You just have a nice, presentable package. You just want to hire based on a nice, presentable package. We're all really hiring based on appearances and a certain level of competence. Now, we love saying we want to hire people of high competence. We don't. That's called the game. Right? I'm outside the education system. I have to produce more, if that makes sense, right? Because my package doesn't look as nice, right? So there needs to be a substitute for that package. Right? And that's and something real. I'm presenting you something real right now. When I have that conversation, I will debate about I will debate something real. And the real thing is, hey, look, here's this supply chain proposal. May I add a new supply chain chart to your current existing warehouse layouts, right? Or I want to debate the efficacy of this layout. And that's how jobs start appearing, right? That's what I want. I want a safety net. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how, and as bitter as I feel about people getting moved up, I do not want to move up like that. Because my genetic processing speed for learning information is not that high. Because school is how a lot, if not all managers, right, move up. And at the same time, chatting with the coworkers, it's a lot of variables. If you can stick as much micro variables, right? Economic variables, if you can have as much, if you can engage and make a lot of these variables positive in your favor, right? Social variables, that's what I call it. The more social it's a race of making sure all your social variables look nice enough, right? Look competent enough for the manager to hire you. It's not about like focusing on things that actually matter. The social variables are the things that matter, not what actually gets stuff done, if that makes sense. People need to chat. I can't do that because I'm too tired when I get to work. But they need to be able to perform in the middle while they sleep, right? While balancing being able to chat. I can't do that, so I have to sleep when I go to work. Yeah, people do not hire based on competence. Competence is one variable. People hire based on a nice package and the illusion of competence, right? Because competence is one variable. Anytime you're willing to settle on one variable and claim you aren't willing to, that's an illusion, right? Where do you think salary negotiation comes from, right? It originates from complaining to HR. It's called a negotiation, right? When we resolve a complaint. People hire on a package. They do not hire on legitimacy. Your goal of intelligence to get stuff is to have as much social variables to move in your direction, if that makes sense, as possible. The more social variables that move in your favor, the better. And that's determined. And I know this sounds racist about Gen X, but it's not. Because how else do you explain it? You say, well, the environment can mold you. Well, that's fine, but the thing is the environment doesn't really exist unless you're from a wealthy family. Right? Or a homeschooling family. So honestly, it's just genetics that exists in this debate. Even if you wanted to add a non-racial or non-discriminatory angle to it, you have to focus on the family unit, right? You have to focus on what's around you. Right? And a lot of liberals disagree with psychologists on what the best method of parenting is. See, this is the type of topic that causes people to ghost each other, right? And they're on the left. We always focus on topics that don't cause us to ghost each other. You ever notice that? And we make sure to omit enough context for the solutions of the problem so we don't ghost each other. That's why politics is kind of a waste of time these days. Republicans do it too. So if you're a Republican or a Democrat and you want to feel some sense of, you don't have any. Because if you're ghosting people, you don't have any. You can feel superior when you actually address reasons why you ghost people. Right? Address the topics. Because oftentimes the topics that make you ghost people is often related to the solution to a political problem. Right? That's what, and if you look at all my solutions that everyone can implement, those are things that cause people to ghost each other. Yeah, so it's, and you notice that people hire based on the appearance of a package. They do not hire based on like what's legitimate, right? Well, ever heard of the fat movement, right? Hey, you're fat. I'm not hiring you, right? Your goal is to get as much social variables, like I said, right? That's a social variable. Physical appearance, persuasion. Right. I don't like living in that world where we're hiring based on, hey, you got to chat with these coworkers that you don't like. That doesn't mean you're good at the job. That's independent of whether it works or not. No company does. They hire based on, hey, are you friendly with the workers? Do you chat? Do you jibe well with workers? Do you hire someone you like, right? That doesn't necessarily mean who you like gets the job done. You're starting to see where the game is. So how do you, as an unlikable person, get through to get a higher paying job? Well, you have to go through school, right? But if you're not smart enough to get through the standardization, then you're stuck. It doesn't matter how smart you are, even if you keep learning. Yeah, and that's the problem. So I, arguably, if any, am displaying competence. Because I thought about certain topics way longer than anyone else. Right? Remember Einstein's model. You think, it's not that I'm smart. I thought about the problem longer than anyone else has. Right? I have. Right? I'm not just so, I'm thinking in different spans of time. I'm not just thinking in terms of the 24/7 model. So I'm not just thinking in terms of the 24/7 model. I'm also thinking in terms of like, I'm not just thinking. Let's say I'm arguing right now. I don't just. I'm literally, when I'm thinking, I'm like, my mind's going to different universes. They're like in different time zones. So I'm thinking way longer than anyone else, right? Right. So Albert Einstein's thinking in terms of, I don't know, Mountain Time, Pacific Standard Time. But when he's in the dream world, he's thinking in terms of different spans of time. Like maybe dream world for him, 1 hour is like 1,000 hours, right? That's what he's talking about when he's thinking about, I'm thinking longer than anyone else. His subconscious is thinking in a dimension, right? When you're the spiritual realm is like another dimension. So you're thinking in a different, so the time actually gets lengthened. Right? If you ever look at the time zone for Mars, it's longer, right? Something like that. If you believe in spirituality, right? That's what he means by thinking longer than anyone else. His mind or spirit has traveled to other planets while he's thinking, right? He's looking at the materials in which to work with, to study at, so it could help him design his ideas better. So the moment he's doing that, he's operating on a different lifespan. Of a different mental cycle. Right? That's all the workplace is about. It's about hiring people based on the presentation of a package at the end of the day. The neater the package, the more you're hired, right? The more you get a higher paying job. It's not really necessarily about comment. It's about the jack of all trades in terms of social variables. Right? If you don't conform to the majority of one rule, like you don't fit, you don't get anything, right? Like I can't do that. I gotta sleep. That's the only way to perform well, but that might not be good enough. You have to run the risk of performing in the middle. You do. Otherwise, nothing gets done. Right? And I can't run that because I might collapse and fall asleep, so I'm not going to do that. You have to go through school, you have to afford it, but then you have to run the risk of getting a job, right? Run the risk of not getting a job, sorry. That's what the office is all about. It's not necessarily about competence. It's about hiring on the presentation of a package and trying to get the most. Presentation is important first, right? It's like marketing. Competence is last, really. Second, actually. Right? But I think it's last because presentation of a package is a collection of an aggregate of a bunch of social variables. Niceness, politeness, you're discussing the right topics, right? You're studying what other people are talking about. You're doing Google searches, right? You're having beer pong parties with other people. Right? And then we go through competence, and it's assumed you can get to the middle competence, right? Or at least high end at the same time. If I had to choose social presentations first, you have to balance between the two. You cannot sleep in the office, right? Even though you're allowed to. So if you ever wonder why products don't work, it's because we're hiring based on the presentation of a package. Like, years of experience doesn't mean competency. What projects you have been doing during those years, that's what matters. When you're saying years of experience, you're talking about portfolio. You're not talking about years. What does that mean? I've been doing C++ for 10 years. Nothing. Now, if you can quantify by saying, hey, here's the projects I've done, that's all that matters. Some people are more significant because they have a higher learning processing speed, right? So years of experience don't mean anything, because if they've done more significant projects important to you, you hire them. Always hire based on projects. I never hire based on what programs you learn. That's a better long-term strategy, if it pick and choose, of course, right? Of course, languages matter, right, in programming, but the projects is what brings people together. People, in my opinion, job recruiters don't really know what's going on. You need to hire based on